Hey everybody, it's How Depot 2. I'm going to try to get the glare off my glasses a little bit as best I can. I guess I'll talk this way for a little bit. I'm uh, had a wild couple weeks, and I got to work today, and I um, I had a tooth pulled yesterday, and been in a little bit of pain, and I got to work, and I was having kind of a slow afternoon. So I decided to take the rest of the afternoon off and come back home, and I wanted to make a video response to Tim Howlermouse's video dealing with what he called geek chic. And I guess this is going to be kind of a full disclosure type of video where I'm going to, I guess, highlight, uh, my background in um, what I collect, what I'm into. I guess what would personify me as a quote unquote geek. And I had to apologize. I'm laying on my bed in my wife and I's bedroom. My back's hurting me a little bit, so I'm just trying to take it easy today. So if you see the screen wobble, that's because I'm on a mattress sitting down. So I apologize for that. But anyway, I'm going to put all this stuff out there just to kind of explain how I feel about this movement towards what most people will call nerd culture being hip, and it being something that the hipsters always kind of tie themselves into. If you look at Howlermouse's video, you'll see down in the comments that one of the things that I brought up was the fact that I'm really aggravated by people who wear hipster glasses, who are in their early 20s and were born after Kurt Cobain committed suicide wearing Atari t-shirts. Doctor Who fans who don't know who Tom Baker was and what his significance to the Doctor Who franchise truly is. People who I've heard about going to comic conventions, seeing Walking Dead #1 up on the wall of a dealer's stand and saying, wow, they made a comic book about The Walking Dead. Totally, just totally mind blown by the fact that there are people out there who don't realize that the comic book predates the TV show. And that's what kind of motivated me to put this video up. Because that's the stuff that's always kind of frustrated me. I'm okay with being labeled a geek or a nerd. I've always been called those names, so it doesn't really bother me at all. And I've been called those names not because of me being unusual or me collecting anything that seemed odd or even acting odd. I never really thought growing up that I was an odd kid. I played sports. I did all the other things all the other guys my age did. The reason I was called a geek and a nerd, I think, was just out of pure jealousy because of the fact that I made good grades. I mean, to this day, I'm a 33-year-old man, and I still live in the same small community that I grew up in. And to this day, there are people who are 5 or 6 degrees of separation from me, who know me not based on what I'm doing at present, but about how smart I was growing up. Because in my community, intelligence was never really a sign of masculinity, that's for sure. And at the same time, it was never something that was really appreciated. Everybody just kind of grew up around here, lived on the farm, worked in the textile mills, and never really dreamed of getting a college degree. And not to gloat, but as I sit here right now, I'm starting this fall on my doctoral degree. I'll be working on my 3rd degree at this time, and that's something unheard of in this part of the world. So I was labeled a geek and a nerd because I was smart, because I wore glasses, and that's one reason why I'm really irritated by this whole hipster glass thing. It frustrates the fire out of me whenever I see people like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, Kevin Durant, and those guys get on TV after a basketball game and they put on these glasses with no lenses in them, just the frames, just trying to look cool about it. Because there are so many people who came before this point that were ostracized and picked on because they wore glasses, and that is always that part of this whole hipster thing, I think, irritates me more than anything else. because there's so many people out there who have a stigma about wearing glasses, who refuse to get their eyes checked, who walk around squinting and struggling through life because there is a stigma attached to wearing glasses. And they do so not because I think they're afraid of wearing glasses. There is just this entire perception about wearing glasses and the stigma surrounding it that they're afraid to get pushed into. I've been wearing glasses since I was 3 years old, so this year makes 30 years that I've been wearing glasses. From day one, when I put glasses on, they were scared I would want to rip them off my head. I can see so good with my glasses on that I never wanted to take them off. I get in a panic whenever I can't find my glasses, or if my glasses break, I get into a panic because I just, even though I can see okay, it's just a part of me, and it's a part of who I am, and it's a part of me as a geek, which is what I'm making this video for. And if I seem kind of animated, I'm not going to apologize for it, I guess, but I just want you to know that this has really touched a nerve for me, and it's not that I'm angry at people or bitter at people or anything like that, but there are some bad feelings there, I guess, and there are things that I probably need to work through in my adult life because I have two little boys, and chances are pretty good that one of them already, I can tell he's probably going to have to wear glasses, and there's going to be a stigma surrounding this whole geek thing with him, and it was never anything that was forced upon him. I didn't have a choice to wear glasses. Well, I guess I did, but I mean, for me to live the life I want to live, I've got to be able to see, and we're it's kind of an unfortunate thing, and then to see other people kind of take it and use it as a style is kind of irritating. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting stylish glasses. I've always kind of worn the standard types of frames, but then these aren't just a big Coke bottle glasses either. But I mean, there's still it's still something that I think people take lightly whenever they put those hipster glasses on. So, that's just a long 6-7 minute rant now about that, and I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole too much. I just wanted to talk to you guys about how I view geekdom right now. Just like Tim said, I do agree that there are some fakes out there. They're not only on YouTube, they're also on forums, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter. They're everywhere, and I think that those people are out there, and it's because they're looking for mainly attention, especially, and I don't want to come off as sexist in saying this because it is guys doing it too, but I see a lot of girls doing it, and as I've always flown my geek flag. Like I've said, I don't really care. You can label me whatever you want. It doesn't really bother me at all, but I've been blessed to be able to say that comic books and popular culture television and movies are not they're not my only two hobbies. Probably my biggest hobby, right next to comic book collecting, has always been video games and video gaming. And if you want to talk about an area, especially since massively multiplayer online games have become so big now in the world of World of Warcraft, if you want to talk about people who get into something for pure attention, it has got to be in the online gaming community. You see it in not only World of Warcraft and any other big MMO like Rift, or it was in EverQuest before that. You saw it there too, but you also see it in a lot of first-person shooters, a lot of masculine first-person shooter games. You'll see girls, and there are some girls out there who are excellent at the game, who are playing it, and they're being totally sincere about it. They love it and they're passionate about it. But there are a lot of girls out there that are doing it for the pure attention, or getting involved in it just for the attention. And once it becomes passe, if Call of Duty ever goes out of style, they're going to find another game to jump on. Because honestly, I can date myself a little bit back and say that when I was playing Counter-Strike, when we were in Cal and UGL and all those leagues, or UGS, excuse me, all those leagues that used to be out there back in the early 2000s, there were a lot of girls coming into IRC channels for a lot of clans, and they were looking for attention. They were not there, for anything more than the attention that they could seek from those guys. A little bit sad. I'm sure it happens on the guy side too. There were a lot of people who were involved in those communities looking for fame and they weren't really passionate about it. They really didn't have a whole lot of interest in it. They were passionate about their own self-interest and trying to make themselves look good. So, that's why I think a lot of this stuff is happening. For somebody like me, though, my geekdom, my passions in life, outside of my God, my family, and my friends, my passions have always been collectibles. I guess I've always been one that I guess it was ingrained in me that to have comics, to have anything like that was something that you could collect and hang on to because it could hold some value. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I know there are a lot of people on YouTube who are comic book folks. They're in it for the reading of it, and I am too. Don't get me wrong. I read my comics that I buy every month, but there's a lot of stuff that I have and I still buy for the collectability of it. It's just stuff I've always wanted. It's hard to find, or it's just something really cool to have, and that's kind of my background in the collecting side of things. Now, as I got older, I got passionate about video games, and I became a pretty big gamer. When I got into college and I got a gaming computer, or I built a computer that was capable of gaming, I was a hardcore Counter-Strike player there for the better part of a decade, from about 2000 on up to about 2007 when I had my first little boy. I was going to LAN parties up and down the East Coast, and I was building new computers every 2 or 3 years. I was uh, constantly tweaking my game. I was addicted to the game of Counter Strike. To be honest, I almost lost my first job out of college because of it. It was just a real gosh, it was just a huge part of my life, and that transferred over, and I started playing World of Warcraft after my son was born, and that was an even bigger um, leech on my life. I was getting involved in playing that game 14 hours a day, and trying to work and trying to be a husband and a father at the same time, and it just wasn't working out. And those were kind of things I had to kind of leave behind, and I'm kind of glad I did. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm still not playing video games. I still play video games on a casual level, but I do not get into the PC games. Um, Gosh, the PC games that are almost exclusively PC games are just, they are time sinks and a half, and I can't be in that community anymore. Which is one reason why I've kind of taken to the YouTube community, because I can still find a group of people that I can talk to. Because where I live, this kind of stuff is not. Nobody does this kind of stuff around here. There's no. It's an hour away from the local comic shop. There's an EB Games in the county seat here, but I mean, most adults, most adult guys, all they want to do is work for the volunteer fire department on their free time and go hunting and fishing. And I've done all that except for the volunteer fire department part. And I mean, it's just I'm not that interested in it anymore. I'm more interested in this stuff that's I guess, part of my childhood more than anything else. And that's why I do these videos, and that's why I'm trying to be a part of this community. Um, one thing I will say for anybody watching this video, and that's another thing too, is like, I really don't care about video views. I really don't care about, I appreciate everybody who watches my videos, don't get me wrong, but I'm not doing this because I want to get more followers or get more views. I just want to have a forum to be able to express my opinion, because I don't get that, like I was saying, I don't get that around here or where I live. And, it's just, that's just why I do this kind of stuff. And one thing I want to say to anybody out there watching this is, if you're going to be doing stuff in the community, or you're going to want to label yourself, it's okay to do that, but be sincere about it. Just make sure that you're finding something that you're passionate about that could really be what labels you as a nerd or geek. Don't just fall into it because everybody's going to see the Avengers or everybody's going to see Man of Steel. Get into it because it is something that you're really passionate about. And probably the biggest tip I can give you is that if you do start to get passionate about something, or you find a lot of interest in something, don't think you know it all at the very beginning. Do some research. That's why I watch all the videos I watch, because I learned so much more from the other folks on YouTube than I could reading it on online or on a book. So do stuff like that. Like I'm starting to get passionate about collecting out of print, hard to find VHS horror movies from the 80s. And this is my Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is the Video Treasures edition. This came out in '88, and I had it signed by Gunnar Hansen earlier this year at Mad Monster Party in Charlotte. I bought this because this reminds me of my childhood. This is the copy. Well, it wasn't this copy, but Video Treasures copy was the first copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre I ever saw. So I thought it would be cool to buy a copy off eBay. It's not in great condition. It's got a little damage, but it was something I bought, and I had Gunnar sign it for me. And he's got an awesome signature. It's easy to see. And I've become more interested in collecting this kind of stuff because it's part of my past. When I was growing up around here, we had video stores, and you could go to a video store in the late 80s, early 90s, up to about 92, 93, while there were still mom and pop stores around, and you could rent old releases like these, 5 movies, 5 days, $5. So during the summer, man, my mom would take me up on like a Saturday or maybe a Monday afternoon after she got off work, and I'd pick up five VHS copies of horror movies, and I'd bring them home and I'd watch them. I would just consume them literally, just watching them all through the night, and then come back and return them and get 5 more. And that's why I'm interested in starting to collect this stuff again. I like it because it's collectible, because I do like to collect things, and it reminds me of my past. Another thing is, as you guys know, I'm a Dark Shadows fan. I don't collect Dark Shadows comic books because they're what people are talking about. It's definitely not Peter Pan's False or Saga or Nowhere Men or Revival or any of those hot image titles that are out right now. But it just reminds me again of my childhood. I'm collecting Dark Shadows Year One. And I've got original. Well, not original. I do have original Dark Shadows Gold Key books, but I'm also collecting some of the Dynamite books. This is my copy signed by Francesco Francavilla. It's just stuff I want to collect, and it's stuff I'm passionate about. I love Dark Shadows, the original. I can't stand what Tim Burton did to the movie. It was better than I thought it was going to be, but still, Johnny Depp is not Jonathan Frid, and the story was not part of the canon of Dark Shadows at all, and so I wasn't really too keen on it. It's something I don't have in my collection, and I probably won't ever buy a copy of that movie for my collection unless I find a copy for maybe 50 cents at a flea market or something like that. And another thing I collect, I still play games casually on the 360, and I collect controllers. This is my Halo 4 UNSC see-through controller. I did a review of this, so you guys probably saw it. I've also got a Modern Warfare 3 controller. I've got one of the original Covenant controllers. And I've got another controller out there too, but I can't remember what it was because I've got 4. But anyway, collect, be into what you enjoy, learn about it. Don't just take a passing glance at it and then lose interest in it, or show no interest in it and come off like Tim was talking about, how somebody is friends with Jeff Johns but doesn't even know how to say his name. Don't come off that way at all. Be afraid to admit that you're wrong. That's another thing too. I think that's a good life lesson in general. Be afraid to admit, you know what? I am not as knowledgeable about a lot of these things I collect as other people are, and I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to ask questions. Ask questions too. Don't be afraid of responses. I think everybody in this community is really helpful, and I think it's important to bring them into what you're into too, and try to make friends with it. I think a lot of Tim, me and Howlermouse have had some crazy conversations through text today about all this, and it does ring true that it's okay to it's okay to develop these friendships online. Um, I've got so many thoughts running through my head, and I've actually made myself a little list here on the side of the computer, but I've not really followed it that well. I do want to end on this because it's running kind of long. I want to say this much: just because you're part of this geek culture, I think anybody who collects anything, Will Wheaton said it best. If you're passionate about something, and that's what you're into, it's okay to be labeled a geek for that reason. But you don't have to know about everything. Um, I'm a good example of that. Like, I hated, I hated the whole new Doctor Who because I was a fan of what Tom Baker had done years ago because I remember watching it on PBS when I was a kid. Didn't remember a whole lot of the story. I just remember how much I loved K9 and his companions and some of the silly things he would run into and how he had that long scarf. Uh, uh, you know, but I opened myself up to actually watching the new season, the new series, starting out with the Ninth Doctor, working its way up to Matt Smith now, and I feel pretty comfortable about you know my fandom for Doctor Who now. I'm okay with this change that's getting ready to happen from the 11th to the 12th Doctor because I'll be honest, I like Matt Smith. I think he's a great guy. I listen to him on Chris Hardwick's Nerdist podcast and other things like that online, and I think he's really just a sincere, kind guy. I haven't really liked his incarnation of the Doctor though. Um, Other people have fawned over it. It has not struck me the way that David Tennant did as the 10th Doctor, and so I'm looking forward to this transition, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if some of these quote-unquote posers of geekdom for Doctor Who, how they handle this change. I think it's going to be a good change. I like the idea of an older Doctor again, but I'm not sure how many um, younger female fans of the show are going to handle it. Because you're going from a man who's 29 years old to a man who's, I guess he's in his 50s. I'm not even sure. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Another thing too is you don't have to know everything about. Like I was saying earlier, you don't have to know everything about everything when it comes to this geek stuff. I feel pretty good because I feel like I've had my fingers in a whole bunch of different subgenres of what we'd call nerd culture now. But not everything is my cup of tea. I tried the whole Harry Potter thing, and I just can't get into it. And I hear people get excited about, all the stuff about the wands and the hats and the houses that they lived in there at the school and everything else, and I just never could get into it. I tried, but it was just something I couldn't get into. I appreciate folks who are into it, but it's just one of those things that never really wet my whistle. So guys, with that ends my response. I know it's gone kind of long. I hope you've stuck with it. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you liked it, leave me a comment. I'd love to have some good discussion about this. Anyway, guys, take care.